Welcome to a nutty adventure exploring personal growth and wellness, breaking down the stigma around mental health along the way. Let's dive in because now it's time to show me your nuts.
Good morning, everybody. It is Nutty Thursday, and it is a Nutty Thursday because I'm having trouble making sure that I am on YouTube, on my YouTube. There I am, so it's good. Okay. Well, I wanted to make sure that was on because, well, I didn't want people to miss me over there. So if you're in the chat, let me know how you're doing. I am so blessed to have people come by here. I love that you're watching and that you're watching on the replay even. I know you've got lots of things you could be doing at 10:30 Central on a Thursday morning, like working or doing something crazy like that. And if you choose to spend time with me, it is a blessing to me. So, I appreciate everybody that's here. So this morning, today's theme is racing thoughts. You know, that stuff that like derails your day because you're thinking about the thing that you've got to do tomorrow or the thing you've got to do tonight, or did you get everything done this morning, or what is it you have to do for work? And it just keeps going and going and going. That's one of the ways I describe Techxiety, because Techxiety is not just anxiety about digital technology. It's also anxiety about this technology and about all the things going on, tools and technology, if you will. So we're talking, as we do, about anxiety and mental wellness, calming those racing thoughts and decoding their messages. Because what if your anxious thoughts aren't enemies, but instead they're messengers? So if you think about the thoughts in your head, like especially anxious type thoughts, what if those thoughts in your head, they feel rushed, they get that your adrenaline gets going and they just keep racing and racing and racing. But what if instead of being just anxiety provoking, what if they were messengers of something else? What if they were your body and your brain, which is kind of the same thing, believe it or not? What if all of that was a messenger to let you know something that you needed to know? Like your body had a way of telling you, "Hey, wait, this thing's going on." And that if you tune in, you turn the radio dial, if you will. Okay, I'm aging myself, because you used to have to turn the radio dial just so to get the radio station frequency to come in. And you, instead of putting in a number, you turn a dial and get it, even on the TV, and you turn that dial just so that the signal would come in clearly, without fuzz, without static. And we need to do that to ourselves. So what if the racing thoughts were because you didn't have your dial tuned in right to hear the intuitive message that you were meant to be hearing at the time? And that all of those racing thoughts were actually static. So they really are a way to highlight and go ding, 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 something's going on. And that looking underneath the message, so whatever it is the racing thought is about, maybe there's a message underneath it. And if you turn the dial and tune it in, you can actually get to the message that your body and your mind is sending you on purpose. So that would change those anxious thoughts from being something negative and something bad and something challenging to, oh, wait, if I just turn the dial and hear what it's wanting me to do, this actually is good because then it'll take me out of that state of anxiety and racing, not just racing thoughts, but racing heartbeat and worry and those things. And turn you, by turning the dial and by finding out what the actual message is, turn it into insight and intentional action. So if if you're in the audience and you think about that, as I also ask a how charged are your nuts question. So as we like to do here is to find out how charged your nuts are, how nutty your charges are. How is it you're feeling about something? So this morning's question is an energy check, and it's how charged are your nuts? It's on a scale of 1 acorn to 10 pecans. How fast is your mind racing right now? On a scale of 1 acorn to 10 pecans, and you can put whatever other nuts in there you want. How fast is your mind racing right now? I'd love to hear from the audience. Got Jessica here saying happy Thursday. And knowing how stopping and checking in on ourselves, because sometimes when our mind is racing too much, we don't even it's racing so much that we don't even remember to stop and pause, as my friend Sang likes to say, pause and breathe and kind of observe what your current thought speed is. So I invite everybody to pause and take a deep breath in through your nose with a slow count of 4, 2, 3, 4, and hold that breath. 2, 3, 4, and then put that breath out through your mouth at a slow count of 2, 3, 4, and blow every ounce of air you can out like you're squeezing yourself, and you're just squeezing every bit of air out of your lungs. It's actually one of the most important parts of doing that breathing exercise. Slow count in through your nose at a 2, 3, 4. Hold it 2, 3, 4, and then squeeze everything out of your body. 2, 3, 4. Because the more you squeeze out in that last part of that exercise, the more fresh air and fresh oxygen you can breathe in the next breath. And the more carbon dioxide and bad chemicals for our body, whatever, toxins, anything you've, in there, the more you're cleaning out. So when you do that exercise, make sure you count the slow count of 2, 3, 4, and then hold it 2, 3, 4, and then out through your mouth. So that then when you breathe the next breath in, you've got more fresh oxygen in your body. And while you're doing that, stop and pause and breathe. And now observe what your current thought speed is on a scale of 1 to 10. Have your thoughts slowed down? Maybe even skidded to a halt? If they skidded to a halt, you're in a great place because you just calmed yourself. And we don't take enough time in our day to stop and do that. I don't always do the practicing what I preach in that. Um, I walk people through it all the time, and as you could tell, I wasn't necessarily doing the exercise as I was walking you guys through it, except for that last time. And so I have to stop myself and go, "Wait a minute. It's okay to pause. It's okay to take a couple breaths." As a matter of fact, if you do take a couple of breaths, it will calm that excuse me, it won't calm the hiccups that I might be having, but it'll calm uh it will calm your nervous system down. And maybe that kind of hiccup I had was a little bit of some energy feedback to me saying, "Hey, slow down. Keep slowing down. It feels good." Our world is fast-paced, and we want to do all the things, and um, we're socialized that if we're not doing all the things, we're not productive enough, we're not successful, we're not doing what we're supposed to, quote unquote. And what if it were the case that when you're doing the things, some of those things are actually the stopping and taking a pause. So let's circle back to that fact where our racing thoughts are actually potentially insight into intentional action. What if our racing thoughts are there to tell us to calm down? If when we have those racing thoughts, the surge of energy and that surge of everything is our body's way of saying, "Hey, hello, we're moving so fast. We need a break. We need a break. We need a break. We need a break." Such that every time you have the racing thoughts, instead of whatever the thoughts are saying, you hear, "We need a break. We need a break. We need a break." If you reframe what the thoughts are saying to you, is that when all of those thoughts happen, my body, myself, I'm telling myself I need to take a break. Such that if that's what you start going, okay, when I'm hearing all those things, what I'm actually hearing is I need a break, that then when it happens, you hear I need a break. And that reminds you to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and do that 4 times. That's otherwise known as box breathing, by the way, the exercise I was walking people through. It's known from lots of different things. I call it 1, 2, 3, 4 breathing. It's called box breathing. It probably has some other names too. Any way that you can stop yourself, take a pause, bring in some fresh oxygen, put out the CO2 and toxins, interrupt the racing thoughts. So the important part of that is that the thoughts are racing because your body's got too much going on. And what it's telling you is, I need to slow down. When you take that pause and you slow down and do the breathing exercise or whatever you need to do to slow down, it is your way of breaking the state of being in anxiety by doing something else. And then by breaking that state, you actually cut off the racing thoughts so that you can go back to kind of a normal state, a normal pace, a slower pace, a more next, which might include one of the thoughts, one of the racing thoughts. It may include doing the thing. So just some examples to think about. So what kind of racing thoughts are in your way today? What are the kinds, and these are things to think about when you're not having the racing thoughts, obviously. It's when you do have racing thoughts, are they always the same theme? Are they a different theme, but they're related to something that just recently happened? So are they being triggered by an event? And is that event the same all the time? In other words, if you track what's going on with your thoughts and how often they are they the same? Do they have a trigger? You can figure out, gather data to figure out what's going on underneath. And if you figure out what's going on underneath, then you've got power, because then you have the power to change how you do it. Doesn't mean it's easy. It just means you have the power to do it. And sometimes it is just as easy as knowing what it is that's causing it and figuring out how to either avoid that or react differently on purpose. And so that you can do things like build mantras and reprogram various things to reprogram your mind over it. So let's look at kind of the nutshell of what we're talking about today, in that arena of racing thoughts. So that nutshell is um, looking at, what do these racing thoughts really signal in our nervous system? Are they there to cause our system to fritz out? Or are they there to remind us to slow down? So I want you to think about that while I'm describe what I call the Techxiety loop. So the Techxiety loop can happen in multiple ways. It's not just one particular way. Happens different for each of us. Some of us don't have Techxiety loops because we don't have a fear on the Techxiety. We don't have a fear of technology. So our Techxiety loop may not have anything to do with digital tools. It may have to do with other things. So when I say Techxiety, yes, it involves the intersections of mental wellness and technology. But when I say technology, it could be any number of types of technologies, including the fact that my camera is moving me when I move my hands. That's not Techxiety. That's just me getting frustrated with the technology. User error, don't move my hands. Techxiety is the intersection between impacts on your mental wellness, or how your mental wellness impacts use of technology, how your use of technology, any kinds of technology, impacts your mental wellness. It could be in a good way. So the Techxiety loop is when let's say it is literal anxiety about using technology. And I'm going to kind of channel some people that I've worked with to help them is they sit down to a computer or they have a phone and they're trying to do something. And there's a fear of breaking the thing. There's the not knowing what to do next. There's also a not knowing what they want the thing to do, or not knowing how to fix something. It's usually not knowing how to fix something. And they try what they think will work, and then they end up on a screen or with a prompt that they don't know what to do, and they're afraid that if they click the wrong thing, they're going to break the whole system, or they're going to do something that just, really, um, breaks everything. And um, that's not the case, but it feels that way, and the feels are real. So the screens and the stress amplify the cognitive noise we have when we're already anxious. So we're already anxious, we're already like worried that I'm going to break it. And then you go and do something and you end up with a weird screen. And then that puts another layer of anxiety on it. You go to try and do the next thing, and then that, or you click it and it comes up with something you don't understand. Then you've got the confusion along with the anxiety you're going to break it, and you've got another layer, and it loops and loops and loops between you're stressed and you're worried, and you might click faster than you want to, and by doing that you're not stopping to think about what it's actually asking, or you're not stopping to ask for help. Because it's okay to ask for help in technology as much as it is okay to ask for help in anything else. And it doesn't mean you're stupid either. That is, like, my friend Peggy has a swear jar in one of her rooms. And if you use that word, and I'm not going to use it again because I don't use it lightly. I only use it to give the example that people frequently will call themselves that word. But you put money in the tip jar if you say that word. Doesn't mean that something's wrong with you if you don't know how to do something. I have no idea how to take care of houseplants so that they don't die. So if I have that challenge, I'm going to ask someone else who knows how to do that so that I can, find out. So the Techxiety loop is when you already are anxious about breaking the thing, not doing it right, etc., and you jump in, you do something, and it brings up something, you're clicking fast. Frequently happens when people are just clicking on things quickly, and then they end up with somewhere where they don't know. Sometimes with technology, especially with machines, digital things that we've got, slowing down actually helps you figure out the machine. Slowing down and taking a breath also helps this machine, as we talked about earlier with the breathing. It slows down that nervous system response, and by slowing down with the machine, you can actually have more clarity in what it's doing and what you need to do with it. So looking at techniques to slow down your mental momentum, if you will, things like breathing, reframing of, oh, this screen's coming up because something needs an answer, not because I've done something wrong to break it. Right? Reframing is taking one thing that is happening that, and usually reframing frequently happens from something that appears negative to something that can be more positive. And it's on a continuum. It could be, like way negative over here, way positive over here. And you're going to reframe. You might only inch just a little bitty bit or a little bitty bit, but it's still a reframing from the negative or challenging answer to a more positive one. And my camera is moving me around again because I keep playing with my hands here. This is what I get for being around people who talk with their hands all the time, or that I do. So when you reframe something, you're reframing, in this case, you'd reframe chaos as communication. So if the racing thoughts are chaos, and we reframe them to being communication about our mental momentum, then that reframes the chaos as communication, that we need to slow down our thinking so that we can step more clearly into the next step, especially if it's with a device like that. We don't think about using technology helps us move farther faster. Because of that, we don't think about the fact that in order to use the technology, sometimes we need to slow down to get it going, and then it does the work and moves us faster because it's doing calculations faster than we can, which allows us to slow down and take more of a breath and look more clearly at what we're doing. Let me repeat that. The technology can help us move farther faster because it calculates things much quicker than we do. But in order to get it to do that, we have to slow our brain down to think through the pieces so that we're more clear about what we're asking the machine to do. So you slow down so you know what you're asking the machine to do, but then it speeds things up because once you know more clearly what you're asking the machine to do, it has better instructions to then do the thing, and it moves us faster. And if you think about it that way, then it's a partnership. And then it does move us faster. Plus, once you understand how to slow yourself down and think of through the things, and you're able to give the machine a command that you've thought through, once you've had success with what it gives you back, not only do you have more time left, but you also are less chaotic and anxious about it because you've had success. And it breaks that Techxiety loop. Just like we were talking earlier of when you do the breathing exercise, it takes you out of the loop you were in. So we need to reframe things. Reframing the messages from the racing thoughts that they are communication to us that we need to slow down. Slowing down and taking a break breaks the Techxiety loop that's going on between, oh, I'm anxious about the thing, I'm going to break the thing. Oh, I don't know what it's asking. Oh, now I'm more anxious, I'm going to break the thing. I don't know what it's asking. I'm clicking here and I'm clicking there, and I don't know what it's asking. That breaks that loop. And then when you break the loop and you slow down to think about what the actual thing is going on, and you get more clear, you get clarity from the breathing and you get clarity from the slowing down and being more present with what the machine's doing and what you're doing. Let's back up and look just at the thought patterns, the thinking patterns, just the way that we process information, the way this computer up here works. Okay? And I'm going to give you 3 R's to look at. So it's the 3R reset. These are the nuts and bolts, and this is a practical tool I want you to carry forward. The 3 R's are recognize, regulate, and redirect. So recognize is when you recognize the type of thought train that's going on in your head. So when you have the racing thoughts, the 3R reset is recognizing the type of thought train first. Are you futurizing? Are you catastrophizing? Are you comparing? Are you pinballing? there's different kinds of thought trains that go on. And if you can recognize the type of thought train that's going on, that can help you break that in your patterns and help you change it. Especially if you do it over time. Recognizing what's going on, documenting it of, oh my gosh, when my racing thoughts were happening today, it was catastrophizing of thinking of the worst thing that could happen, the worst thing that could happen, the worst thing that could happen. Or when I had racing thoughts during that networking meeting the other day, it was because I was in comparanoia. I was comparing myself to others, comparing myself to others, comparing myself to others, and thinking of, and that train will take you off track, because if you're in the middle of something like a networking meeting and the train is comparing you to others over and over, inappropriately comparing you miss understanding everything that's going on in the room, because your brain's gone, the train's gone off the rails into comparanoia land, and you miss what's going on in the actual room you're in. So recognizing which type of thought train you've got going on. Pinballing could be one that just is going everywhere, thinking of everything. It could be, squirrels down a squirrel or rabbit hole where you go just in one thought pattern and of one subject, and think of, all of the different ways that your project is going to go wrong. And that one's part catastrophizing, part like singular whatever. Or it could be shiny object. There's multiple ways that your thought train could go off the rails. So the first is recognizing the type of thought train you're dealing with. And you may not, one, you want to recognize it in the moment, but when you're tracking things, sometimes it's after everything's gone on. And so tracking them is important. The second piece of the 3R reset is regulating. Regulating is what we do when we do like a breathing exercise, of regulating with a sensory grounding. It could be breathing. It could be, there's also the sensory grounding of your five senses. What are 5 things you see, 4 things you hear, 3 things you smell, 2 things you feel in your body, and 1 thing you taste. So the best way to remember of that one is your 5 senses: see, hear, feel in your body, taste, and smell. And you can do them in any number of ways, although predominantly you might start with what are 5 things you see. And you could say, what are 5 red things I see? What are 5 yellow things I see? What are 5 round things I see? You can do that one any number of ways. But what are 5 things I see? What are 4 things I hear? What are 3 things I feel in my body? What are 2 things I smell? And what's 1 thing I taste? Taste is, I usually leave taste till last, because you don't always you don't always have multiple tastes going on. So you want to, that's why I kind of start with, what do you see? Because you can see multiple items. You can hear multiple things. You can feel lots of feels in your body. Okay. So they're kind of in an order that way, but the idea is that you take 1 minute or more. You could take 2 minutes and focus on those things. What that focusing does, or the breathing, is breaks the state of mind you're in with the train. It kind of puts puts the puts a boulder in front of the train where the train's got to stop. Okay. Because if your train of thought keeps going, you've got to put something there and to make it stop. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is a good one, and so is the 1, 2, 3, 4 breathing. So if you can count on one hand, you got it made pretty much. You've got your tool right here, always with you. And to take 1 minute, or to at least go through 5 things you see, 4 things you hear, 3 things you feel in your body, 2 things you taste and 1 thing you smell, or 2 things you smell and 1 thing you taste. Doesn't really matter which one you do which. That grounds you. It breaks the state of what you were in. It stops and derails the train. And then the third R is redirect with a tech boundary or a micro action. Redirect is what you do after you've stopped the train and you've grounded yourself. Redirect is going, what is your next direction? With this, especially if you're frequently, if you frequently get into Techxiety loops, it's good to have a list of things that are ways that you, just a reminder for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, a reminder for the 1, 2, 3, 4 breathing, but also have a list of things that are micro actions that you can do next, that you can always do next, right? Kind of like a menu, if you will. And it could be a tech boundary of when I get in Techxiety loops and when I get that way, I stop and ground and, I figure out which train it is. I stop it. I stop and ground myself. And then I always take 5 minutes completely away from the technology to go for a walk outside. Or I always, when that happens, I turn on a meditation. Or I always go back to a piece of technology I do know I'm good at and work in it for at least 5 minutes. You're redirecting the negative experience into a positive, known, or more comfortable experience. So I'm going to tell you those 3 R's again, and I hope they were helpful. I've got some people in the comments. I'm going to see who's talking where. But the 3 R's: recognizing the type of thought train, regulating with a sensory grounding, and redirecting with a tech boundary or a micro action. Micro action just being a what is the thing I'm going to do next. And Jessica says she spent almost the entire day regulating yesterday in between must-dos and was definitely needed. Oh, when you have a big list of must-dos, does it not it takes so many things out of you because you've got pressure. When you've got the must-do, there's pressure where it's like it almost makes it could be must do, and it's that you must go out and get the mail from the mailbox. And instead of it being, oh, open the door, walk 3 steps, get the mail, shut the mailbox, come back in, it feels like, oh my God, I have to, walk up a mountain, around the block, down the hill. Of course, you guys in the Northeast, it could be through the snow both ways, uphill with barefoot at the moment. Hopefully you guys are digging yourself out and safe as well. But it could be that there's not snow there, but it feels, because of I've got to get this done, I've got to get this done, I've got to get this done. That pressure of how that feels of the got to get it done makes the task feel 10 times harder than it normally is. And so regulating between tasks when they're that heavy is vital. You're right. It was definitely needed. And I hope that you're feeling better today, actually. I hope that you don't have as many must-dos, for one, and that you also are able to take some that regulating helped you get through the must-dos, so they're done, and now you can focus on what you enjoy doing. I think having a list of things we enjoy, like I was talking about that menu a second ago, I think that's an important thing to have, is literally brainstorm or GPT or take, group of family members or friends and sit down and come up with literally a list of what are things I can do in 5 minutes that bring me joy, or what are things I can do in 2 minutes that bring me joy. I know one of the things I do is I do work in different co-working arrangements where people will do a 20-minute session of working and then a 5-minute break and 20 minutes of working. And I know that why Pomodoro works, why you can focus in on those 20 minutes is that you take that 5-minute break. If you don't literally take a good 5-minute break and do something that is completely different than the working, you might be able to focus your first round, but you're going to have less and less focus over the periods of time, because your brain needs that stop, reset, regulate, and then go on, so that then it's almost like it's doing a reboot. Your brain needs that reboot in that 5 minutes so that then you can go back and focus again on whatever the task is at hand. I'm not an athlete. I don't play one on TV. But it's almost like sprinting, I would imagine, where you rest and then you take whatever that period of time is that you put everything you can into it. But then you've got to rest again before you do that again, where you sprint again. And that the reason Pomodoro works is that we take 20 minutes and we focus in on our tasks, and you really focus in heavy on whatever it is you're working on. But the magic of Pomodoro happens in those 5-minute breaks, that you literally take a break and do something that's not a task. And when you do that, you can get more done. You can get more done in an hour doing Pomodoro than you can in 5 hours doing anything else, to be honest. But back to what I think is important is taking and making lists of what are the things I can do in 5 minutes that bring me joy, that bring me relaxation, that reset my brain, that remind me why I am doing what I'm doing. It could be getting up and stretching. It could be closing your eyes and doing a meditation. It could be closing your eyes and thinking of, or it could even be that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 exercise, because it regulates your system. It brings you back to center. And, but it could even be 5 minutes of reading a book or listening to a podcast or watching funny cat videos. It could be anything that you can do in those 5 minutes to break your state of what you're doing, kind of relax your brain and everything, and then go on to the next thing. So the quandary is that if you're doing Pomodoro, or let's say you're doing 5 minutes once an hour that you're taking a break, whatever it is, we get to our 5 minutes and we're like, oh, we can rest now. But then we don't have a list of things an idea of something to do. And we may go, I don't really want to meditate, or I don't really want to go for a walk outside. I want to do something that resets me and relaxes me, but I can't remember my things. So that's where the menu comes in, I think, as important, is creating a menu when you aren't at the 5-minute mark, so that you can look at your menu and go, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. Or, oh yeah, I'm going to take that appetizer. Or, oh yeah, I'm going to do that dessert right now. So doing a 5-minute menu of, or a menu of 5-minute things you can do in 5 minutes, which actually is very similar to I have a self-care planner that I give people. I'm going to give you guys the QR code for that. So if you want it, I have a free self-care guide that you can get, and it walks you through a cadence of self-care that I teach. There's some videos linked in there, and it walks you through creating a menu of 5-minute items. So that could be handy. I hope maybe that is helpful for someone, so that you can regulate your system better, and use that 5-minute break sometime. Whether you're having Techxiety and racing thoughts, or whether you just need a 5-minute break, Um, Thank you, everybody who's taken the time out of your day to watch today, because, again, 11 something Central, and you could be doing something else. You could totally be doing something else today, and I really appreciate you. I also um, appreciate the Breakthrough Show Network. So, just to remind you of who they are, I'm going to share with you guys who the Breakthrough Show Network is. I'll be right back.
Breakthroughs are about more than you might think. They're about discovering who you are, digging deep, reaching to the core of your soul. They're about healing yourself, understanding your beliefs, creating a ripple effect. And it's not just those initial moments that matter. It's about using them to bring more joy into our own lives and the lives of others. It's about having fun, letting loose, enjoying every moment life has to offer. It's about finding a safe space. It's about creating connection. Join us each and every day for exclusive programming, special events, and a community to call home, where we invite you to explore, change the way you look at and live your life, and go beyond the breakthrough. So we ask you, are you ready? We'll see you online at thebreakthroughshow.com.
Okay, everybody. Like that commercial just said, the Breakthrough Show Network is actually more than just a show or a set of shows or a network where a show lives. So, yes, it's the Breakthrough Show Network, and there are daily shows, all sorts of cool stuff. And the Breakthrough Show Network is indeed a network of people and a community of people. And we have stuff all the time. If you're still watching and have a way to drop a link to the community, I don't know if I have it handy. But I'd love for people to know we've got this we've got an amazing community space. There's a gymnasium, there's a theater, there's a garden, there's probably places I haven't even thought of. Um, and you can come over and there's activities all the time. So it's not just a set of shows. It's a place to come and connect with other humans and do things that are fun through your week. There's full on schedule of stuff. So there we go. Event calendar. Thank you. Luma.com/the Breakthrough Show Network. I will save that so that I can find it again later. Come play with us. Come hang out with us. You'll meet cool people. And you'll probably learn something along the way. Oh, and then here's for the lobby. In the lobby, you can learn you can find out more in the lobby, and you can go explore, because it's actually a place you can explore, not just like I said, it's not just a set of shows, um, unlike other places. So to recap today, I hope the 3 R's reset when you get Techxiety or when you are have racing thoughts. I hope those are helpful. Recognize the type of thought train you got going on. Regulate with a 1-minute sensory grounding exercise, and redirect with a tech boundary or a micro action that will take you to the next place. Write those down so that when you get dysregulated, you can see them and it will help you. If you don't have the things ready then something's going to happen and you'll be like, what were those things that Stacy was talking about again? So recognize, regulate, redirect. I'll get some homework for you as a viewer. If your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to catch one racing thought today and ask it, what is it really trying to tell you? So recognize what thought train you've got going on. Regulate and redirect. And then ask that racing thought, what is it you're really trying to tell me? Because if you can figure out what's underneath the train, what's in the train, if you will, what it's really asking you, you may be able to keep those same racing thoughts from happening again. So that's your shiny nut moment. A way to integrate what we've done is to catch one racing thought and ask it what it's really trying to tell you. So thank you so much for watching Show Me Your Nuts today. My name is Stacy Braiuca, the Squirrel Wrangler. Entrepreneurs challenged at the crossroads of mental wellness and anxiety. Mental wellness and technology. Hire me to guide them to get out of that mess. And remember that your thoughts aren't trying to ruin your day. They're just trying to get your attention. So slow down and listen to them. Listen to what they're saying so that you can figure it out and feel better. I hope to see you next week for more Show Me Your Nuts. And we'll dive into another part of mental wellness, technology, anxiety, and all the fun stuff. I'll see you there. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on this nutty adventure. Remember, personal growth and wellness are journeys best taken together. Keep exploring, keep growing, and don't forget to show me your nuts next time.